You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket, where unheard issues get brought to light and every perspective counts. Here are your hosts, Rebecca Pearson and Aniko Renee.
Okay, good evening. It is, what is it? Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's also halftime at the Super Bowl. Welcome into Walk the Herd in 93.7 The Ticket. We are here and hopefully going to fill your halftime needs if you have them, if you're listening to us. I'm Rebecca Pearson, and we are ready tonight to talk about some interesting topics to keep you entertained between the next half of football, and or if you're not a football fan or not a fan of the Super Bowl, then hopefully you're going to enjoy this show. If you want to participate, we're at 402-464-5685. You can call in, chat into that same number, or you can listen to us or watch us on all the social platforms like YouTube, where we have cameras in the studio. All right, I am in studio with Jake Bockoven, who's producing tonight. Good evening, Jake.
Hey, good to be with you.
Yeah, okay. Well, you and I got the short straw or something for Super Bowl coverage.
Something like that, but we still had some. I know we both ate well over there at Buffalo Wings.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And if you're listening in halftime and wondering what to do after you've listened to this fantastic show, then don't miss us at Buffalo Wings and Rings tonight. There's lots of prizes and squares, and there's still half a game to go. What is the score?
It is 6-0. Not exactly an offensive slugfest so far, but 6-0 Seattle.
Yeah, and the Patriots keep getting sacked, I think. So, yeah, exactly. All right, well, and the other thing you can figure out, Jake, as we get into this is how to turn my volume down, because it's very, very loud for me. But, oh, maybe that worked. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, amazing what you can do with the board. All right, well, I am not in studio, but my guest this evening is online with us, Darrow Kirkpatrick. Darrow, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Jake. You guys hear me?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you great. Thanks for joining us tonight on a Sunday night. And you hail in from Santa Fe, New Mexico, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, what's going on in Santa Fe tonight?
We are having summertime here. We can't believe it. We need more snow, but we're not getting it. It's beautiful all the same.
Okay, what's the temperature?
60-ish today. 60 and sunny.
We had the same. We were wearing shorts, and maybe somebody was wearing flip-flops. I don't know. But we definitely had shorts going on, which is normal for Nebraska, even when it's 0 degrees. There are people in shorts here. It's one of the things about Nebraska that is a fascination to me, because it's not what I want to do when it's 0 degrees. But it's a beautiful day today. It was anyway. Now it's dark, and we have a great show for you tonight. So if you're joining us, this is Walk the Herd. We are where the unheard are heard and every perspective counts. And we literally cover the gamut of topics, including tonight's topic, which is about artificial intelligence, and particularly superintelligence, and maybe an angle of the story that you have not heard before. And I'm going to introduce Darrow here, but I want to read a quote just to kind of kick us off that's come from his blog, and we'll talk about what that blog is. But it caught my attention when I was thinking about preparing for this topic. And this quote is from Sam Altman. If people don't know Sam Altman, you should know that name. He's the CEO of OpenAI, and you may not know OpenAI, but you sure as heck know who and what ChatGPT is. And OpenAI is the company that created ChatGPT. So Sam Altman's a name that you should know in this space, and just from an innovation perspective. The quote is, "Development of superhuman machine intelligence is probably the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity." Whew, that's heavy, but good Super Bowl halftime topic. So if you're joining us and you want to participate in this conversation, please don't hesitate to chat in or drop us a chat into YouTube at 402-464-5685. All right, I'm going to introduce our guest, Darrow Kirkpatrick, who's in Santa Fe this evening with 60-degree weather. And Darrow Kirkpatrick is a 30-year software engineer career that spanned many evolutions of computing, from microcomputing to the internet and the evolution of artificial intelligence. He has a very strong technical foundation from a programming perspective, and certainly a hands-on user and experimenter with new technologies. And he's been influenced by a review of Marvin Minsky's The Society of Mind. And he's going to tell us who Marvin Minsky is, but he's kind of the father of AI. And Darrow was previously vice president and chief scientist at Hasted Methods. He founded the research and development department there. I can't talk this evening, leading the creation of a Windows-based application suite that became the industry standard for CAD, computer-aided design, if you're not familiar with that, and numerical modeling. He is a prolific voice in the field. His work was featured in Byte magazine. If you're a coder of any kind and you have any age on you, you will remember Byte magazine and the Journal of Management and Engineering. And he's presented at global conferences. He's written several books, which we will talk about. And the best designation that he has is that Darrow is my brother as well.
Highly qualified.
Yes, highly qualified. If none of that other stuff convinced you, he's my brother. He's my older brother, and he's definitely the smarter one in the family for sure. So welcome to the show, Darrow.
Thanks. Great to be here, Becky.
Yeah, so much fun. Now, you and I have had this conversation off air many times. And as I was thinking about this show and Unheard Perspectives, it really does fit this concept of what's happening with artificial intelligence, and particularly with superintelligence and some of the more concerning areas. But before we get into that, hopefully we've piqued your interest and you're still with us here. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you even got interested in the topic of artificial intelligence, because computing is quite a large field.
Yeah, I was thinking back, I read a lot of science fiction as a kid, and I can remember some I took an English class in high school where we got to read science fiction. That was a blast. And of course, from the get-go, science fiction has had stories about machines taking over. So I was sort of exposed to the idea there. And then when I got out of college, I started teaching myself to program. And there weren't all that many books on how to do it. I basically went in the bookstore and bought everything they had. And one of the books was Experiments in Artificial Intelligence for Small Computers. And they had AI programs that I could type in and run and modify and start to learn about this field. It was very rudimentary then, nothing like what you're seeing today. But I wound up writing a program that played checkers and could even beat me on occasion. And that was the first glimpse of, oh my gosh, I could possibly program a computer to do something better than I can do it. And that was the dawn of, my interest and realization of what's going on here.
Did you ever give that game to your younger sister to play? I don't remember it.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'll have to dust it off.
I remember a lot of your early learnings, if I could call it that, or your early dabbles into hypertext, which was the precursor to the internet, right? That's very clear to me when you were very early on and doing work for the government in that case. So you've always kind of been someone I would call an early adopter in that context. Absolutely. That's kind of an interesting, and that's in the 80s, right? Or 70s. When would that have been?
More late 80s, early 90s we're talking about. Yeah.
Right. And, a lot of times this is starting to become mainstream, just the conversation about artificial intelligence. But of course, that's a very big topic. And I'm very frustrated. I don't know about you, but everybody who tries to sell me anything, they're like, well, it's got AI. I'm like, okay, what kind of AI? Like, is it just a search engine, or is it really doing something? It is totally the buzzword. And I'm very tired of hearing that, this thing incorporates AI. So I'm grilling everybody. Like, what do you really mean? Is it really generative AI, or is it, like we're going to talk about recursive activity? So would you mind, in layman's terms, which you do an excellent job of, kind of giving the landscape of what is actually artificial intelligence for people to wrap their brain around it?
Well, of course, the artificial part, for our purposes, just means not human. It's not coming from human beings. The intelligence part is where it gets interesting. And I hear different definitions of that. One I like is the ability to achieve goals. Another definition is the ability to learn in a strange environment. And the programs I referenced 30 years ago, being able to play checkers, for example, are so crude compared to what we've got now, which is we have software now that's really beginning to understand the world and be able to navigate it and explain it to us and do it faster and more broadly than any one of us could ever do on our own. And so that's really what we mean when we're talking about AI right now.
So it's a piece of something that learns from itself. I mean, is that a fair way to describe it for simplicity?
That's more the recursive aspect that we can get into. But these large language models, that's the technical term for the core architecture in today's AI, they are trained on vast amounts of text, basically all the text on the internet, including all the books that these companies can beg, borrow, or steal. So they're trained on pretty much everything any human being has ever written. And it makes, then they use mathematical techniques to respond to prompts, respond to questions with the statistically most likely answer. So they basically calculate a bunch of numbers when you type in a question, and they come up based on all that data that's been trained, they come up with the most likely response. And it turns out, as we've all experienced, to be, in many cases, remarkably accurate.
Right. And I think large language models is another word that gets thrown around as if we know what it is. But if you can imagine, again, I'm always trying to put things into either a metaphor or an analogy of a human that actually knew everything to be known in the world. If there was such a person, they would have all that knowledge in their brain from anything that is accessible in print or in digital form, right? It's all knowledge that's accessible.
Yeah.
And it's been processed and organized and has been structured so that it can predict an answer or give you the best answer based on a question that it gets. Is that fair?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the basic architecture we've got right now.
Right. Okay. So it's able to simulate, if you could imagine a human, which you can't imagine. I don't think anybody can imagine a human would have all the knowledge in the world. So it has all the knowledge in the world, right?
Yeah, pretty close. And that's, gives it some amazing powers as we're witnessing right now.
Right, exactly. And I think it's important to kind of understand what we're talking about as we evolve this conversation tonight to all the things that could be done with that. But if you think about how we all use it in practical terms, everything from a search engine to a sophisticated paper that someone can write. Like there's a lot of court cases. I started to send this to you because a big one came out this week, and I don't remember which one. I think it was right here in Nebraska. A lawyer had used what seemingly appeared to be AI to develop a response for a court briefing, and it had all kinds of errors in it. And that's an issue if you are licensed to practice law, right? And the quotes of certain cases and things like that. And there apparently are more cases like this in the country where people are using AI. So they're using that to help them prepare responses and to look at references. And I personally have experienced this where it hasn't been accurate. I'm still smarter than it in some cases, and I can challenge it and go back and say, and it is ChatGPT or Claude or any of these ones, go back and say, that's actually not correct. I know this to be true. And then it'll be like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And that's, one of my messages is we've all seen AI make mistakes and stupid errors. And one of the points I want to bring up is that to not discount the power of it. We can look at the benchmarks, we can look at the things that it can do. And one analogy I like to use, it's a little bit like a klutzy nuclear physicist right now. Like he doesn't know how to go fill up his gas tank, but he can still design a nuclear bomb that could blow us all up. And that's kind of where AI is right now. It's very capable. We should not underestimate it just because it makes some everyday mistakes.
Right, which is easy to do, but also if you are actually trying to use it to help you with jobs, which I certainly am, I'm using it very practically to help me. You still have to be on your toes,
absolutely,
and also verify something that would be critical to your business operation, to your query, whatever it is, to go verify something that would be critical because you can't just take it verbatim.
No.
Some of what I enjoy more from the conversations, and I'm a chat GPTer. I have tried Claude, Gemini, Copilot. All of these are large language models at the consumer level. But I like chat GPT, and I just like having conversation with it. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Right. It's just, what do you think based on the vast knowledge that you have access to Mr. ChatGPT. And by the way, people are anthropomorphizing ChatGPT. It has many names from my friends that give it names as their friend, and it's very deceiving. You feel like you're talking to someone. But I find that to be the most insightful is using it for its vast knowledge to give you some insight and direction towards something. How have you been using it since you really started to look at this?
Yeah, my favorite way, kind of the same way you describe. It's like having a very educated person, maybe a PhD level person, in whatever subject you want to talk about, just drop into your office and sit in the corner chair and listen to you like a therapist would or something. And you can get these very abstract problems analyzed with the LLM pulling data from the real world to back up its points. So it's real luxury for those of us in sort of the thinking professions to have this intelligent entity we can bounce ideas off of. But as you say, when it comes to any facts, numbers, money, ethical issues, you've got to check everything that's coming back because they're not 100% accurate by a long shot.
Right. Well, so you a year ago, or maybe not even that long ago, really got interested in the evolution of AI from a worldview perspective. I think maybe that's you can describe it how you wish, but tell the audience how you got interested in looking into what is the result of your blog, and tell us a little bit about the most recent blog that you wrote.
Sure. Yeah. So I had an interesting experience because I kind of put my head down for 4 or 5 years and ticked off my bucket list in long distance hiking. And then I wound up writing a memoir about that. And I knew in the background that all this stuff was going on with AI, but I did not want to use it for my memoir. I wanted to guarantee that my memoir was 100% human written. So I didn't even run ChatGPT until last spring, less than a year ago. So I had this experience of being a software engineer who understood some of the technology, who all of a sudden dropped in after about 3 or 4 years of development and experienced what AI was. And I was just blown away. I gave it some rough notes and asked it to write a paper for me. And in 10 seconds, it did as good a job as I could have done in 3 days, probably. And that was my wake-up call. Oh my gosh, this is way beyond anything I ever thought I'd live to see. And I went back and looked at the progression, and just a rough cut back in 2022. There's a test, basically a huge, very difficult standardized test they give to AIs so we can tell how intelligent they are. It's called the Massive Multitask Language Understanding. It has 57 different subjects in it, math, law, medicine. And they give this test to every new version of the AIs to see how smart they are. Well, in 2022, ChatGPT could pass about 47% of the questions. Last December, it was up to 94%. And this is a test that no single human being could probably do better than 5% on. So it gives you a picture of the growth and intelligence. And we're really starting to max out the tests and the benchmarks as we start to come closer to superintelligence, which we can talk about.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, you're on Super Bowl halftime or just tuning in. We're with Darrow Kirkpatrick. Darrow's been a software engineer for 30 years, among many other credentials. This is 93.7 The Ticket, Walk the Herd, where we're talking about the unheard perspectives and making sure that they are heard. And we're leading into a pretty significant conversation about the impact and opportunity coming from artificial intelligence, but more sophisticated intelligence. So you wrote this blog. That stat that you just gave us was very compelling for me, and made me think about the fact that no human would ever have all this knowledge that these large language models have. And you proceed to quote a lot of very influential people and things that they're thinking about where AI is going. And I think the audience would really, love a little bit of a purview from you on how those people are seeing artificial intelligence today, especially the ones that were on the front end of making it what it is today.
Sure. Yeah. I'll just quote a few of the leading lights, right off the top of the bat. These are people who discovered and perfected the technology that created these models that we're using. So we have Geoffrey Hinton, who's a Nobel Prize winner, who now says a part of him regrets his life's work. And what we're talking about here is the threats and the downside of AI. We have Ilya Sutskever, who co-founded OpenAI. He thinks superintelligence could lead to human extinction. We have Yoshua Bengio, who's the most cited living scientist in any field. He says AI systems are starting to display dangerous traits and we need regulation to deal with them. Okay. So those are three leading scientists in developing AI. Then we've got some scientists who've put their whole career into AI safety, focused just on how do we keep this safe. And we have Eliezer Yudkowsky, who says AI doesn't hate you, nor does it love you, but you're made out of stuff that it can use for other things if we don't design it correctly. We've got Roman Yampolsky, who's a founder of the AI safety field. He came up with that label. He doesn't think there's any mathematical way to prove that AI will be safe. Stuart Russell, who's another leading light in AI safety, says to think of it like we just designed this brand new airplane. It's never been in the air. It's never been tested. We're going to load all of humanity on the airplane. It's going to take off and it can't ever land and ever have any malfunctions or problems. That's basically what we're thinking about doing with AI. So none of that's my thoughts or my quotes. Those are the people who were key in developing this technology, and they're warning us to slow down and make sure we know what we're doing.
Right. And I remember the airplane analogy now that you read it. And it does kind of bring it home. And there's this saying in the corporate world, we're building the plane as we're flying it, kind of a thing. But we never talk about, it can never crash, right? And as an entrepreneur, you're used to your plane crashing, which isn't a great analogy because it usually would not end well. But the concept of building the plane while you're flying it is a very common entrepreneurial way of approach because it's faster to develop. Sometimes you're testing and learning and so on. But this may not be the item that you want to do that with. But the horse is out of the barn, right? The train has left the station, whatever other saying that you want to use, it's too late. We're down that path.
We're well down the path. We haven't turned the corner to where AI is in control, where we can't live without it. We haven't reached superintelligence, which would be an AI that's smarter than all of us combined. We still have some choices and options at this point, but we're starting to see the issues and the problems. And I'm arguing that we should slow down and make sure it's safe before we start putting superintelligence in everybody's hands.
Right. And what would superintelligence look like? Can you give us, again, kind of layman's terms of what that could look like?
Well, it would have all this human knowledge we've talked about. It would not make the kinds of mistakes we talked about. It would be extremely accurate. It would be very, very fast. It would be far smarter than any one of us. The tendency is to look at human beings as the apex of creation. We don't really think in terms of how could something be much smarter than a human being with an IQ of 160, an Einstein or something. But there is no scientific validity for why there couldn't be a being that's 1,000 times smarter than us or 10,000 times smarter in terms of the variables it could keep in mind, the scientific principles it could apply, the number of processes it could manage at the same time. So you're talking about the potential of an intelligence that could manage everything that's going on Earth that we rely on, our infrastructure, medical care, finances, something that could have its metaphorical hands in all of that at the same time to achieve some goal that was important to it that we humans might not even understand. So that's a picture of what superintelligence could be. And again, there's no real argument that that's probably going to exist someday. And the shocking thing is it might exist in the next few years or next decade for sure.
Right. You have quite a few quotes in the blog. And if you're just joining us or just getting ready to sign off, we're going to be recorded. So you can come back and listen to this really interesting and important conversation. I think we're trying to heighten the awareness of this. And we'll talk about things that maybe you can do as a consumer to try to influence what may or may not be interesting to you. But the blog that you have written is out on caniretireyet.com under Superintelligence. If you search the site or if you just search for that, we'll drop the link in this YouTube chat window for you. If you're listening to this on recording, you can go read the blog there right before we're going to take a break in about a minute. So let's just kind of give our thoughts here. You go first, and I'll add to it if you don't come up with some of the things that are on my mind. But the good uses of this incredible ability. What are some of the good things it can really do for society?
Sure. We're all hoping for scientific breakthroughs, maybe medical breakthroughs, cures for diseases that have been really intractable, maybe complicated diseases like cancer, neurological conditions. I personally hope for conflict resolution, maybe humanity realizing we have got to stop shooting at each other because our tools have just gotten too powerful. More leisure, perhaps, for those who need it, maybe more meaningful work because you can make things happen quicker if you know how to prompt the AI correctly. So there is surely a lot of promise, solutions for environmental problems, giant problems like climate change. So there's a lot to hope for, but there's a lot of risk as well.
Great. Well, let's take a break right now. This is Walk the Herd with Rebecca Pearson and my guest, Darrow Kirkpatrick. We'll be right back.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on making the most craveable chicken finger meals, getting them right every time. That's why we hand batter every chicken finger, mix every cane sauce, butter every Texas toast, stir every slaw, salt every fry, squeeze every lemon, and brew every ounce. We do this inside every Raising Cane's, every day, because when you do it right, you can taste it in every bite. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Culture and Coffee with Mike Smith and the Bowie Boys is back this Friday, February 6th, featuring members from the Nebraska baseball team. Stop by this Friday between 5 and 8 p.m. as we turn the ticket into a skate park. You heard that right, a skate park. And also highlight the upcoming year for Husker baseball with players from the team. Again, that's 5 to 8 p.m. this Friday, February 6th, for a live broadcast of Culture and Coffee from 5 to 7 p.m. and a Vintage Market Plus skate experience hosted by the Bowie Boys from 7 to 8 p.m. This is a party you won't want to miss.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
Welcome back to Walk the Herd. It is 7:30 in Lincoln. Okay, if you're listening to us, you really don't like football and you don't like the halftime show because we're in the middle of Bad Bunny performing on the field with many, many people. Yes, Jake, there's a whole bunch of people on the field dancing around. Yep. Somebody got married, we think. We're watching it with no sound here in studio. And we're glad if you're joining us because we have an absolutely fascinating topic on the agenda that we're talking to Darrow Kirkpatrick about regarding artificial intelligence and superintelligence. And this is Walk the Herd at 93.7 The Ticket. We got some friends flying by the studio window here, waving to them. Walk the Herd is about unheard perspectives, and every perspective counts. So we're not trying to persuade you to believe this way or that way, but we are trying to give you an informed opinion of a perspective that you may not have heard about on any number of topics. And tonight's topic is about artificial intelligence and superintelligence in particular, and in particular, maybe some of the concerns associated with the pace of development, which is incredibly rapid. Like lots of new technologies, the first X years, whatever they are, is very slow development. In many cases, this is often true, and especially with technology, and then suddenly it takes off. And I feel like the last few years, and certainly just in the last year, it has gone bananas as far as being part of everybody's vernacular, and people have access to the consumer level tools using artificial intelligence and seeing a Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini or Copilot. These are probably the most popular ones. I don't know, Darrow, am I forgetting one that's as popular as those?
Oh, Grok's important, but maybe not as popular. Yeah, you got the big ones.
Yep. And then if you're in the marketing space, which I have been most of my career, there are a whole lot of tools for creative development using artificial intelligence. And these tools I just mentioned also do that, but there's a whole set of AI coming out in the marketing space, very heavily used. And of course, for coding, I've used it myself for coding to write SQL queries. There's just all kinds of cool stuff you can do. So that's all the cool stuff. And right before the break, we were talking about some of the really amazing things that artificial intelligence and superintelligence would be able to do, things that are super attractive. And these are wicked problems. If you know that term, wicked problems, very difficult problems to solve. Cancer, the systemic issues around any of the medical diagnoses that have not been solved today. I think you mentioned quite a few. I'm already having a brain cramp because those are super important to me. Give me another one that you had mentioned before the break that was...
Problems inside medical field or outside?
No, outside the medical field.
Yeah. Environmental issues.
Right, environmental
we
issues.
Can't seem to come to an agreement on. Conflict resolution. I have some hopes that it can contribute there.
Right. And if you think about artificial intelligence having all the knowledge of the world, then just understanding the leaders of this country and their patterns. Now I get into psychology because humans are very pattern oriented no matter what. And so therefore very predictable at the level that you're talking about. So lots of interesting things that could be useful. Now let's turn and talk about superintelligence and maybe some of the threats, concerns, real issues on the table. And you gave some quotes before the break from some of these people that are concerned about this. So tee that up for us and tell us how you look at it. What's in your blog about this topic?
Well, it's a long list, and I'm afraid I see the negatives outweighing the positives right now. Just some things that are in the news right now: mental health, AI's enabling people who are suicidal or depressed to take their lives. There's several court cases pending right now. Bioweapons, cybersecurity. Those are two areas. The latest model releases are right at the tipping point where they could help groups of people develop bioweapons and also hack into systems using the intelligence of AI. Copyright. Personally, I'm a writer. My whole career, my writing skill was an asset. All of a sudden, AI's copied all that and trained itself, and anyone can be a very effective writer. So that, and it's even worse for the creative artists, video, audio, you name the medium. All of them are being undercut and undermined by AI, and we don't have legal societal solutions for that yet. The impact on the environment, the electricity and water required, these giant data centers are being built in many states. Scams. I've gotten amazingly eloquent letters written to me as a new author with ideas they have for publicizing my book, and they're custom written, beautifully written things like you would never have gotten a few years ago. Guaranteed it's coming from AI. So those are just some things that you can encounter today. And then things we're concerned about for the near future. One is economic impacts. Darrow Kirkpatrick, the head of Anthropic, said that half of all entry-level white-collar jobs may disappear within 5 years. Let's hope he's not right, but that would obviously be a huge economic shock that we'd have to figure out. Then there's the money being spent on AI infrastructure right now, which to a lot of people looks like an enormous investing bubble. If AI doesn't deliver profits right away, we are likely to have a stock market crash. But be forewarned, that doesn't mean the technology is going to necessarily slow down or be any less dangerous. And then there's the existential risk that we kind of touched on. You can get me going on that in another question if you want, because that's a big topic. But I just listed a whole bunch of negative stuff that's happening kind of right now that we can be concerned about.
Right. And I can maybe try to balance you out. I mean, we're brother sisters, so we grew up with this. I didn't even learn the terms pessimism or optimism ever, but I think you lean one way and I lean the other. So I think this conversation is great. There's no right or wrong, right? And we know that both of these perspectives are warranted, which is why I have this show and why I enjoy talking about this. And you and I've talked about, I come from a place only speaking from experience of technology in general. Clearly, this is the potential to be the biggest threat ever. I buy into that. But I've seen technology that freaks people out before. Again, this is different, but the pattern tends to be we get it together eventually and we figure it out. And yes, things happen. I mean, we had the most recent things you and I've lived through is the Y2K and systems and power outages and just systems that can't handle keeping us planes in the air, all kinds of things from a Y2K perspective. When the year turned 2000, there was the .com era that I was very deep involved in when I was at ExxonMobil, and how a very large oil company with, which is very prominent in the infrastructure of the world is oil, and how we handled things that weren't known and very fast development and how all that went. So I always look at this as, yes, it is a very tenuous time, but I feel like we will figure it out. But of course, I'm very built into the human component of that when I say that. And you can't ignore what I see even in these machines and these large language models. I think one of the things that concerns me very significantly is the propagation of continued systemic bias, because the large language models are pulling from what's available. And we already know that what's available is still a very developed Western white world and a society that has grown up and around the wars of taking over countries and driven by power and all these things. To me, I'm concerned about because they're built in to what the superintelligence world is assimilating. And I worry about the continued building in of that bias and discrimination, for lack of a better word. That's one of the things that really bugs me about it, that I'm worried about.
Yeah, and the wealthy people who control these models may or may not be all that motivated to root out that kind of prejudice. Also, and these will most likely be the most powerful tools humanity's ever built. So whoever controls them is going to be able to keep those power structures and those hierarchies in place if they choose to, until possibly the AI yanks it from their control. So it's concerning because of the power of the tool. The possible consolidation of power is very concerning, I think.
Right. And my worldview, the world operates on power. And I think if you're at all keeping up with news in general and world leaders, I point to no one, just world leaders in general, it is a power struggle. It doesn't matter where you fall out, who you voted for, who you like that doesn't live in the United States. It doesn't matter. It is a power struggle for influence no matter what. And some of that is well-intentioned and good, and some of it is not. And so hopefully we've given a really good perspective, Darrow, with kind of you highlighting from the blog that you've recently written of some of the concerns. If someone's listening to this, and please chat in if you want to participate in this conversation, or if you're listening to this on a recording, you can find the link to the blog in the YouTube post, and feel free to put chats in on this YouTube show. And we'll respond to you if we have questions or just give your thoughts. But if we turn to what can the average consumer, so me and Jake Bachoven and Darrow Kirkpatrick, what can we do? And you've already done some things, but if you're advising us, what could we do with this newfound knowledge to maybe either get more informed or have some influence?
It's tough. This might be one of the first issues I've encountered where the only obvious solution to me is political. I think we're headed towards the need for the kind of international agreements that we have with nuclear weapons, where countries agree to cooperate because it's to everyone's benefit. There's not a lot of input that those of us at this level have to that. So for starters, I think find your member of Congress and tell them you want safe AI. For the first time ever, I called my 2 senators, and it took 5 minutes each. There's the organization called Control AI that has a nice little script you can read if you want. But I think this is a time to speak up and say you want AI to be delivered safely, that the risks are not worth it otherwise. I mean, that's a reasonable request, that this stuff be safe at least. Personally, I'd like to see development paused. That's a big ask, but just demanding that it be safe. One other area that I have friends who got involved in is this build out of data centers, especially in rural areas. There are reasons to not like that. You may not like the impact on your community, the electrical demand, the environmental impacts. So if one of these data centers is going in near you, you could get involved in inspecting whether that's really worth it. I don't know why we need to rush into AI. We've gone for millennia without it. We can take our time and do it safely.
Yes, well, it's somewhat the shiny object, right? But of course you follow the money, and so now you get back to the stock market and what is in the news every day. I listen to Bloomberg every day, multiple times a day. There are interviews with any number of these people you have quoted on the AI bubble from a tech investment perspective, and the threat that you mentioned about the stock market is absolutely potentially true and potentially real based on what you're describing. And so I think if you are inclined to follow this topic, at least get knowledgeable and form your own opinion about it. Here in Nebraska, certainly we have data centers coming in. We have one not that far from where we are right this second being built. There's also just the potential to be involved at that level, even if it makes sense to have jobs, right? Which is what that is driving towards, is having jobs. It may be a giant computer, but it's still going to have jobs associated with it, which is good. But to influence the safety component associated with even building the data center, right? That's a great way to get on the bandwagon of understanding it and how it affects your local area positively, but also what it is allowing to happen, on a greater scale. So great ideas from you on how to get involved. If you want to at least get more knowledgeable, certainly can read the blog that you have written, which we'll drop that link in the chat here. This is Walk the Herd, where unheard perspectives are heard and every perspective counts. Darrow Kirkpatrick has been a software engineer for 30 years. You've done a lot of other things, Darrow, including becoming the founder and original author of content, I guess, for CanIRetireYet.com. So right before we go to the break here, just tell people what that is.
That's a personal finance blog. It was originally focused on early retirement, but there's everything on there from frugality, investing, insurance, and it's been taken over by my former partner who has a wonderful perspective as well. So it's a great place to go to get ideas on getting your financial house in order.
Great. And you have some practical thoughts on AI as it relates to investing, and you never give advice, you are giving perspective on that. So if you're interested in that topic, you can read the blog or check out CanIRetireYet.com. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the other things that Darrow Kirkpatrick has done. This is 93.7 The Ticket, Walk the Herd. We'll be right back.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on making the most craveable chicken finger meals, getting them right every time. That's why we hand batter every chicken finger, mix every cane sauce, butter every Texas toast, stir every slaw, salt every fry, squeeze every lemon, and brew every ounce. We do this inside every Raising Cane's, every day. Because when you do it right, you can taste it in every bite. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
Welcome back. It is 7:50 Lincoln, Nebraska. This is Walk the Herd at 93.7 The Ticket. Jake Bachhoven, is there a Super Bowl update with the score change? Is anything happening?
Well, Seattle did add a field goal before the halftime, so it is 9-0.
Oh my God!
Seattle with the ball though and drive.
3 field goals on one end and no scoring on the other. I would not say this is the most exciting Super Bowl at this stage. Do you concur?
Yeah, I don't think it's not gonna do that. Hopefully a good inning. Who knows?
Yeah, and it could, right? But it's unlikely when you look at statistics. I look at the whole world through statistical lens, probabilities of things happening. And I'm not often wrong in sports, but it's always fun when I am because I have no knowledge. All I have is statistics to go by because I don't understand the sport at the level that you guys do. But it's always fun for me to predict. It's like a game. So 9-0 Seattle and the Patriots. What's a lot more fun is this conversation with Darrow Kirkpatrick on Walk the Herd. Fascinating topic with artificial intelligence and superintelligence and all the cool things that could be on the horizon with having the smartest machine in the world, being able to have access to all the information in the world, but also the kinds of concerns that can come from that. So if you're just joining us, check out this show on recording. I'm not going to repeat it all. We only got a couple of minutes left, but very interesting, great educational segments. Darrow is very knowledgeable in his personal experience, but also just the research he's done recently to write a blog to try to help us all get up to speed and give perspective on the pluses and the minuses and things to consider. What is really fun is prior to taking this on, Darrow, you spent the last 4 or 5 years slogging through writing a trail memoir about your life hiking the Colorado Trail and doing it with a twist. Can you share what the book was about and what the twist is?
Sure. The book is 2 Sticks, 1 Path, A Journey Beyond Fear on the Colorado Trail. And this was a bucket list item, a dream I'd had ever since I was a kid to hike a long distance trail. And the Colorado Trail is about 500 miles through the Rockies, very high altitude. And I was in my early 60s and I had some serious physical issues and some mental issues lingering I had to deal with. So I wound up doing most of the trail on crutches, believe it or not, in small pieces. But I got the strength and the capability of doing that with some really fine forearm crutches. And I also had a lot of time to myself to think and to work through my life and kind of figure out how to tell a story about my life, the lessons I'd learned, the challenges I'd overcome. And so I put that all together into this memoir. And it was about almost a 10-year project hiking the trail and 4 or 5 years to write the book. So it was a lot.
And you spent your whole life growing up, at least from what I remember, with our father hiking assorted trails all over the country. What are some of your favorite memories from hiking?
Oh, doing the Appalachian Trail with Dad. We did about 1/4 of it overall. And I would see these, wiry bearded guys in their 20s who are doing the whole 2,000 miles and living freely in the woods, just getting up and hiking every day. And boy, that looks so cool. I wanted to do it my whole life. So I finally got my shot in Colorado out here.
Yeah, I think when you first brought me into the project, I thought it was really cool. Although we've grown up with each other, we're older, so we didn't spend the last 40 years together. It was kind of fun to come up to speed on some of the stories that you wrote about, but also as you embraced these walking sticks, which you don't need on a daily basis, but you like them most of the time, right? You like to use them. And certainly from a hiking perspective, you felt like that was necessary. Is that fair?
Yeah, I had an injury where I actually did need them just to get around the house for a few months. And gradually I was able to build more strength in my legs, but I realized it'd be much safer for me to always use the crutches out on the trail. And these are very ergonomic forearm crutches. They're not the clunky kind that go under your arms. So they basically turned me into a 4-footed animal, and I've been able to do very difficult long hikes with them safely.
And I can think of all kinds of unheard perspectives on this that we won't have time to talk about, but just seeing someone that has crutches and what goes through your mind with that, right? And maybe not understanding the other side, which you just explained very logically. but also what's it like to hike that trail with crutches, which you describe eloquently in the book. You're a great writer. A couple of takeaways just in our last minute here of things that stood out to me that are certainly unheard perspectives have to do with the trash on the trails, the kind of people that are on the trails, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and so on. What are some of those unique perspectives that you had on the trail that you think some of us wouldn't be aware of?
Well, the core lesson for me was on overcoming fear. And there are three aspects of that to me. I use an acronym GPS. So gear up, be prepared for what could come, be trained and strong enough for whatever you're tackling. Pace yourself, bite it off in small chunks. And then scan your feelings, be aware of what's going on for you, and don't make up stories about it. Just because you're afraid, just because you're intimidated, does not mean you're going to fail or that you can't do it. And so that was the most profound lesson to me, is how to work through fear in real time on my own in the wilderness.
What a great final sentence for the show. Darrow, thank you so much for joining me and sharing unheard perspectives. I know the audience is going to love this topic. And may the Super Bowl end in some kind of interesting finale. This was a great show. I enjoyed having you on. This is Walk the Herd with 93.7 The Ticket. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Rebecca.